Hey folks, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, be sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating. All right, folks, we have huge tokenization news. So check this out. Blackrock, Goldman Sachs, JPMorgan, Morgan Stanley, Ripple, and 49 other firms have joined the UK's tokenization task force to develop live tokenization use cases across financial markets. So, folks, the token economy is being built right before our eyes, and we've been talking a lot about this over the years. The capital markets, the economies, and governments will all run on blockchain rails. Look at the names that are mentioned here, the biggest institutions in the world. You got banks, you got the major investment firms, you got stock exchanges, you also have crypto firms like Ripple working with these major institutions. So it's clear where the puck is heading, folks. And this is where you have to have the patience and have the macro view because it's all still being built out. The legislation is still being rolled out. And obviously here in the United States, we're still waiting on the Clarity Act. But nevertheless, you see the early innings of the infrastructure being built here. And it's incredible. Let me give you some more details. So the United Kingdom could add as much as 33 billion British pounds or $44 billion to its annual economic output by 2035 by becoming a leader in tokenized financial markets, according to a government-backed industry task force. The estimate appears in the first report from wholesale digital markets champion Chris Woolard, who was appointed by HM Treasury to help implement the government's digital market strategy. So isn't it incredible, folks? You got governments that have their own digital asset strategy, in addition to the major financial institutions. Everybody's moving in the same direction here. So developed with an industry task force, the report sets out a 12-month plan to test blockchain in a financial transaction where securities are used to borrow cash. It also calls for the UK to issue its first tokenized government bond by the first quarter of 2027. So again, going back to the macro view, these things are going to take years to be built out, but this is where you want to take your bets on the respective blockchains that are getting adoption, obviously by holding the respective coins. And as mentioned, there's some big names here. The crypto names that are involved are Ripple, Circle, Coinbase, Kraken. You also have Canton Network and many more. And again, the TradFi names are Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, JPMorgan, Morgan Stanley, HSBC, UBS. Incredible what's being built here. So the roadmap attempts to move UK tokenization beyond isolated pilots and into live markets where securities can be traded, settled, and used as collateral. The report said the task was now to move from pilots to scale and from ambition to action. Ripple, which is listed among the task force industry members, backed the initiative on Monday, saying on-chain funds, bonds, and repo aren't experiments, adding that such instruments are already providing cheaper, better, and faster than their legacy equivalents. Incredible what's being built. I hope you see what's happening, folks. So send news like this to crypto skeptics, people who still don't understand what the blockchain technology is. Yes, we invest in the crypto tokens, but it's not about the tokens. It's about the underlying technology. The reason the tokens exist is because of the blockchain technology. And you have to understand how those work, how they're using cryptography, why they're different from the legacy system, and why, for the first time in history, you can bet on the protocol by holding the tokens. And that's an understanding that a lot of people don't have. They just read headlines, right? They get blinded by Trump is investing in crypto. Yes, he is. But Trump is also invested in stocks, right? I don't see them going crazy about stocks. The point is there's an ethics issue, but that's for all assets. But don't miss the technology and what's being built here, or you will miss out on a massive opportunity and get left behind. So incredible what's being built, folks. It's just a massive, massive adoption. And speaking of tokenization, Wall Street transfer agents lobby the SEC, warning that third-party tokens pose risk to market integrity. So essentially, the legacy folks are trying to work with the SEC to get the legislation right, because the SEC is going to be releasing tokenization guidelines soon. And plus, you got the Clarity Act, which addresses some of this. So it's still being ironed out. You're going to see a lot of back and forth between these folks. And I believe they're going to figure it out. I believe the SEC is doing a great job under Paul Atkins. Obviously, Hester Peirce still there. So here's some details. As the competition to tokenize capital markets heats up, the debate over how stocks could move onto blockchain rails is making its way to U.S. regulators. The Securities Transfer Association, a trade group representing transfer agents and its members, which include major Wall Street institutions, is urging the SEC to give preferential treatment to issuer-sponsored tokenized securities compared to tokens issued by intermediary firms as it develops rules for bringing traditional securities onto blockchain rails. The SDA argued in a letter to the agency that blockchain-based shares should be actual securities authorized by the underlying issuer and reflected in its official shareholder records rather than tokens created by unaffiliated platforms. So I think they do have a point here. We do have to figure out how this will all work because you can't just have third-party folks issuing tokenized versions of these assets, and there's not necessarily a connection back to the issuer. So let's say it's Tesla and the company issues its respective stocks, but a company goes and buys that stock and then they issue a tokenized version. They have to figure out how it's all going to work and how the reporting and the pipeline is going to work, right? So I'm not going to claim to be an expert in the securities aspect and what the STA is saying here. I'm going to try to bring someone on the podcast who's an expert to talk about it, but I kind of get the gist of it, right? We're going to have to figure out how this all works and find a balance. But nevertheless, the reason this conversation is happening is because the direction we're moving in is all assets on chain, the capital markets running on chain. That is why this is even coming up, right? Wouldn't be an issue if blockchains were not going to be the infrastructure for how things are going to be run in the future. Now, I mentioned the Clarity Act earlier, and we need that Clarity Act to get done. Many of you may have seen my newsletter write-up from today. Be sure to check it out. It's a free newsletter. You can sign up. And we're seeing a lot of folks coming out saying time is running out. President Trump tweeted out, or I should say he posted on Truth Social, the following. He says, in honor of Senator Lindsey Graham, a big supporter, the U.S. Senate should pass the Clarity Act. China and many other countries would like to take complete and total control of this major financial happening, as well as AI, where we are now leading, but where they are fighting hard. Don't let China win on either subject. So as we've been discussing, we got a really tight timeline here. August 7th is a hard date because Congress goes on August recess starting August 10th, and the bill has to make it out of the Senate, then it has to go to the House to be voted on, then it goes to President Trump's desk for signatures. So I don't know if the Senate can really do something this week, but this is the week they got to fast track and get things done. And even Patrick Witt, the White House crypto advisor, he says critical week for clarity, which also happens to be on the 1-year anniversary of the Genius Act. A reminder of the incredible amount of hard work that has gone into the bill, but also of the time we've already lost. We can't afford to delay any longer. So he's absolutely right. Now, there's headwinds. Elizabeth Warren, today, she tweeted out the following, and she reposted a video of Donald Trump crypto earnings. Yeah, she says, without strong ethics guardrails, the Clarity Act will make it even easier for Donald Trump to continue to profit off his crypto ventures. Now, notice she doesn't mention stocks. Donald Trump's invested in stocks. So is Elizabeth. So is the rest of Congress, right? So this is very politicized against crypto. We know her MO. This is not so much about the ethics as it is my banking friends like Jamie Dimon have unleashed me to attack the crypto industry going back years with Gary Gensler and much more. So this is her angle now. Now, is there a larger ethics issue overall? Yes. But it ain't crypto specific, and it's been going on since before crypto, right? We know Nancy Pelosi didn't make millions of dollars trading crypto. She made it trading stocks. And not to mention, they're probably trading gold and oil, right? Because why would you only trade stocks if you have any inside information about oil and all these other things? So again, larger ethics issue that needs to be solved. So I'm not saying it doesn't need to be solved. It absolutely does. But we know they're trying to block this bill because of BS and politics, right? And Donald Trump earned money. And yes, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump's meme coins, but I'm not stupid to know that Elizabeth Warren didn't become a multimillionaire by just being a senator, right? You guys know how it all works if you look at her net worth. Miles Jennings of A16Z called out Elizabeth Warren. He says, more lies. Currently, there are no ethics guardrails on crypto. Clarity puts guardrails in place. Senator Warren knows this, but she'll continue to lie about what Clarity does because she doesn't want it to pass. It's as simple as that. So he's absolutely right. And look, today as well, the American Bankers Association came out of the woodwork. So you see the campaign that's happening here. Warren, the bankers coming out, throwing punches. They said just released the ABA and the ICBA joint state association in urging the Senate to strengthen stablecoin yield provisions in the Clarity Act. So again, Jamie Dimon and his banking buddies don't want you to earn high yield on stablecoins because they want you to continue to park your money in their savings accounts, and they will give you 0.01%, the breadcrumbs, while they pocket the majority of the interest they earn by parking your money at the Fed. That's what the game is. And they continue to get their big bonuses while you get the breadcrumbs. That is all that this is about, guys, because they can go launch their own stablecoin and compete and offer yield. They don't want to do that. Why do I want to give up my big bonuses at the end of the year, right? They want to keep giving you the breadcrumbs. So that's the game here. You know, they're going to do the whole smoke and mirror stuff. Stable coins are dangerous to the financial system. It's going to collapse. Oh, you mean like what the banks did in 2008? Right? Come on, guys. But this is the nasty game that's being played. But disruptive technologies at their doorstep, and they're fighting back. And look, the Genius Act is already passed. They're trying to relitigate it through the Clarity Act and trying to block it. They're lobbying the senators like Warren and the others and trying to block it. But this is where, guys, it's not looking too great for the Clarity Act because you have these headwinds, the ethics plus the banking folks, and then time is not on our side. But let's see. Maybe they're able to find some sort of compromise on both fronts and get things done. And even Patrick Witt, the White House crypto advisor, retweeted what the American Bankers Association put out, and he says, asked and answered, give it a rest. So essentially, this has already been litigated. There's already been some compromise, but the banks, you give them a cookie, they're going to want to take the whole box of cookies plus all the milk that you have, right? So we got to keep fighting here. Now, some good news, the Clarity Act has gotten a second endorsement from a law enforcement agency. About a week and a half ago, one enforcement agency came out and supported it. I believe the sheriff's folks, they were anti-Clarity Act, but then they went neutral. They said, look, we're not against it, but we're partially supporting it. We think certain things here need to be figured out. So that was a win, and now you got another full endorsement. So this is really great. Let me give you some details. The Clarity Act has secured its second public endorsement from a major U.S. law enforcement organization, coming just weeks before what many see as a make or break legislative deadline before the Senate's August recess. In a July 10th statement, the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association said it submitted a letter to the U.S. Banking or the U.S. Senate Banking Committee endorsing the Clarity Act while calling for changes to strengthen accountability in DeFi and preserve investigators' existing powers. So this is really great, guys. We got the law enforcement folks supporting the bill, and this will help to weigh the scales towards the passing of this bill. Obviously, fingers crossed we can get it done. It would be amazing to get this done, but we shall see how it all plays out. Folks, quick word from our sponsor, and that is iTrustCapital. You can invest in crypto as well as precious metals like gold and silver via an IRA. And the reason you want to do that is when you sell within an IRA, you don't have to pay long-term or short-term capital gains taxes. So there's huge tax advantages by investing via an IRA. And if you have an existing 401k or IRA, you can roll it over to iTrustCapital's version. So you can access Bitcoin and all the top altcoins, even new altcoins on the platform. They have over 100 crypto assets listed. And again, gold and silver. And you can access these assets 24/7. It's low cost. There's no monthly fee. And the gold and silver product is not paper gold or silver. If you ever want to redeem those assets, you can do that. It's custodied at a bank. They also have a great custodial solution called Premium Custody Account. It's using institutional grade crypto custody like Coinbase Prime, which BlackRock uses. So you're getting the tier 1 level institutional custody. It's a closed loop system. So if anyone hacks into your account, they can't withdraw funds. It's only set up to withdraw to your bank account. So it's low fees. It's also 24/7. You can go in and out. And folks, if you sign up using my link, you can get a $100 funding bonus. And if you want to talk to a representative at iTrustCapital, if you have any questions, I put the contact information from my support guy. His name is Ryan, so you can contact him. His information is in the description and get any questions you have answered. So folks, you got to check out iTrustCapital. Go to itrustcapital.com/go/thinkingcrypto. Link will be in the description. Now, folks, the dip buying continues. We're seeing major companies around the world are buying Bitcoin and different crypto assets. So public company Strive purchases 18 Bitcoin for $1.2 million. They now hold $1.27 billion in Bitcoin. Now, many of you may have caught my interview with the chief risk officer of Strive, which I published this morning. They are doing the Bitcoin treasury strategy a bit different. They're not raising debt. So that's very different from what Michael Saylor is doing. And I believe their model is much better. They're also able to pay out some great yields, actually daily yields. So this is something, a company you got to pay attention to. I'm not saying you should go invest. I'm just saying check them out because they're doing something interesting. So you want to check out that interview that was published this morning, and you can learn about all the details. Here's another example of dip buying. Brazil public company OranjeBTC bought 8 Bitcoin this past week, bringing their total to 3,912 Bitcoin. They lead Latin America companies in Bitcoin holdings or public Bitcoin holdings. And I believe it was yesterday I talked about a company in Japan that was doing the same thing. So again, across the globe, you're seeing a lot of digital asset treasury companies accumulating different assets, Bitcoin, altcoins, and more. Now, here's some very big news around Solana. SBI Holdings is building a Japan-led on-chain financial market on Solana. So they're bringing RWA and stablecoin markets in the Japan ecosystem and branching out beyond that. So this is incredible adoption, right? So you're seeing many countries moving towards blockchain rails, and they're using different blockchains. So while Solana is selected here, we know SBI, they were invested in Ripple. They have a big Bitcoin investment business. They've done stuff with Bitcoin Cash and much more. So SBI, if you research them, they are a Japanese financial conglomerate, massive. So this is not a crypto company. These are financial institutions that existed before crypto are going all in with the technology. So this is pretty incredible. And moving ahead, Bolivia considers adding the USDT stablecoin to its national payments system, allowing the stablecoin to circulate alongside the Boliviano and the US dollar as crypto transaction volume surges 630% since restrictions were lifted in 2024. So again, guys, across the globe, we are seeing crypto adoption one way or the other. These countries are also putting out legislation, their tax guidelines. They're not banning anything. They are simply putting all the respective guardrails in place. This is very bullish. And final news item, global law firm launches Mica compliance tool as crypto companies navigate the new EU rules. So many of you know the EU Mica regulations or Mica regulations is their version of the Clarity Act, which they passed already, so they are ahead of us. But they continue to do, updates to that law because no bill, no law, when it goes live is perfect. You want to continue to fine tune it. So you got some legal firms here, setting up and trying to help crypto companies to navigate the waters here. So Reed Smith, a global law firm with over 30 offices across North America, Europe, and Asia, has launched an automated compliance platform designed to help crypto companies navigate the Mica regulation as the block enters a new phase of crypto oversight. The platform, called Aquarius, automates key compliance tasks, including crypto asset classification, regulatory white paper generation, due diligence, and environmental, social, and governance (ESG) disclosures. Reed Smith said it plans to expand the platform to support crypto compliance regimes in the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, and Singapore. Incredible what's being built here, guys. Everybody's on the same page, heading in the same direction. And I think that's pretty clear now. So this is where, again, take your bets. Obviously, do your research. You want to buy when there's blood on the streets and then have the patience and the macro view. Now, is every crypto coin going to be a winner? Of course not. But this is where you want to diversify, and you're going to have some winners in your portfolio and some losers, right? But you can also play the speculation game a bit if you know what you're doing with the charts and exit some of the coins which you think may not have lasting potential, but because they're new or they have some hype around them early, you can jump on that momentum and then take your profit. So there are nuances to this, right? So this is where you want to continue to educate yourself, understand the charts and the market cycles. And again, check out my newsletter that I put out today. I often include chart data in there So you can learn a lot and continue to follow the market closely. I often tell you guys that I swing trade. I don't use leverage, but I do swing trade, buy the dip, sell the rip. That's different from my long-term hold bag. And that's a way I make money in the market. But you got to learn the charts. And do I get it right all the time? Of course not. But I do get it right more often than I do wrong. And I'm able to profit that way. Also, guys, you can support the podcast by grabbing a copy of my book. It's available on Amazon in paperback and digital. Check out my course at mycryptocourse.com. This is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything you need to know about crypto. And right now, we got a huge bear market sale where you can get 50% off the price of the course by using the code BEAR, BEAR, at checkout. So again, all links will be in the description. Go check it out. Thank you for the support. Guys, I appreciate you all tuning in, and I'll talk to you all later.